off and running again. It was such a hit the first time. We're doing it again.
Was it a hit?
It was a huge. People loved it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Made me some cheddar.
I didn't.
Made me some bread.
I didn't see any of the comments because I can't.
Oh, you're not allowed to see those. So
Okay.
we don't let the help read the comments. This is Danny Fernandez. I'm Mark Ellis. You probably already knew that. So we're going to take some of your questions as we do every month, and we'll see where the conversation leads. Danny, very exciting for you because the night that we're taping this, you actually are you're on the telly.
I'm on the CW tonight, or the night that we tape this, but I don't know when you're dropping this. I'm also popping
I don't know
back
either.
up. Okay. I was on Crisis Aftermath, which is a show that Kevin Smith is hosting, because the CW had their huge Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover in the Arrowverse with all of their shows, and they invited me to come on the couch and be there to talk about it, and I will also be on another episode that takes place after The Flash.
So you're used to talking to guys in backwards hats who aren't
He
in the
wears
best
a
of shape.
blazer though. He's in great shape. Have you seen him lately?
Well, yeah, he had a freaking heart attack.
Yeah, he's in great shape.
What are you saying about me? It felt like that was a dig at me. He's in great, and he wears a blazer.
He looks healthy. He looks really healthy.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm allowed to say about you on this.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, anyways, Kevin Smith was a delight. Very professional, funny, like just really. It was so funny because I didn't want to cut anyone. So here's a little like thing that y'all might not know about us and when we host and when we're on panels together. Is in order to, especially when you have entertainers and we have comics and we have people that are used to talking and can talk on their own, which is what I'm doing now. I could just talk for a whole hour.
We all love to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah, we're just used to it. Like, we host podcasts, we host shows, and so you have to cut your way in. I'm in a writer's room right now, and if you don't cut someone off, you don't get to talk.
Yeah, because like for me, it's like, because I'm doing, which you guys will find out about, I'm doing a couple TV like panel kind of shows in 2020, but it's like me and a couple other comics. And so that's really a unique give and take, because it's like you don't want to try to dominate the action, but you also don't want to be like the one that's not saying anything. Like because when you have other comics, like you
have to speak. Like it's like as you're paying attention, like as the person is starting to end their convo, it's like or end their sentence, I gotta like hop in here.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the episodes I did was with like Kevin Conroy, who's like iconic, did the voice of Batman for Batman the Animated Series and a bunch of other things, like video games.
That's an icon. That's Mark Hamill's favorite Batman.
And, I'm John Cryer, who was so sweet and funny.
Wash out from Hot Shots?
But here's the thing, is that I don't want to cut them off. Like, people are tuning into the CW to watch them. They're like, some of my fans tuned in and people are there. But, like, overall, they're the ones that are in this universe. And
you're the voice of the fan.
Yeah, I'm the voice of the fan. Really,
okay.
I'm the voice of the fans, and just kind of like how I was able to be in this industry. Like, I used my nerddom to kind of get in here. But what I wanted to say is it was such a battle. I guess this is behind the scenes so that you could see with me, with myself, not with anyone else. Of like, can I cut him off? Mm-hmm. Because or else Kevin is great, and this is what you do as a host and moderator. When you notice that someone's about to end, you have to think of the next question in your head so you can keep things going. Because the last thing that we like as people that do podcasts and radio is dead air. So you never want to have dead air. You just want to go from one thing to the next. And so it was funny because I ended up not talking for some of it. Is because
the entire hour.
No, but like it was to a point where I was like, people are going to ask why was she invited on because she didn't talk enough. I think I talked just enough because people were tweeting like you did an amazing job, blah blah blah.
Well, that's
but
nice.
But the thing of it is I would tell Kevin, I'd be like, man, I have a really good question we had Jeff Johns, and I said, oh, can I ask him a question? Kevin's like, yes, please, you can ask whatever you want. And it's like, but I'm going to cut y'all off. And he said, that's fine. And I said, but people at home are going to think I'm annoying if I'm constantly cutting people off. But the reason why is because if we don't cut someone off right as they're about to end their sentence, like the moderator or host will just go into the next question. And you think that there'd be like a little second of there, but there's not. And I deal with that right now in my writer's room when someone's pitching a story and blah, 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 and say someone's like, yes, I agree. You have to like cut in right there or else they'll just keep movie.
I was watching this. There's some random interview with Michael Jordan, and there's this famous game where they were playing at that time the Vancouver Grizzlies, and Jordan, like, the Bulls were winning by I think they were losing actually by like 10. They were just going. They were going to win the championship that year. They were playing in Vancouver, and Jordan was having an okay game, and near the end of the third quarter, someone on the Grizzlies bench said something to Michael Jordan to piss him off. And Jordan ends up going off in the fourth quarter, and they end up coming back and winning the game. So I'm watching some interview that Jordan did at some like town hall thing, and the moderator would not shut up. They asked Jordan about it, and then the guy just kept interjecting his own shit, and you're just like, shut up. I'm not here to watch you. I'm here to watch Jordan. So you need to move the action. Is a long way to get that. So, but you need to move the action, but you can't you don't want to overstay your welcome. So
when I was asked to host a Disney
Princess,
Princess,
that remote, please. Sorry. Thank you.
So rude, just cutting into the middle of my. Yeah. When I was asked to host a Disney Princess panel, it was very much aware. I was very much. It's an honor. It was at New York Comic Con, and I'm with, Paige O'Hara, Jodie Benson, who's Belle and Ariel. I'm Anika Noni Rose, who's the voice of Tiana. It's like these iconic women.
That's a big deal. Yeah,
they're like 1,000 people in the audience. As much as, people know me, people were definitely there. Like, my fans were like, we'll be there, blah, blah, blah. But you're there to see the Disney princesses. Mm-hmm. And so as a host and moderator, you need to, I can maybe say one or two sentences, but it's not about me. Essentially. And there are some times it's about me, but that's not one of them. And so I think that is a reason also why I get so much work, is knowing when to talk and knowing when to shut up.
What's really funny is I've learned that very quickly. I can't stand when people are, even if people are just doing a podcast together, like if you and I were doing a show, actually what we're doing right now, and somebody keeps saying, yeah.
That is people's pet peeve.
It's just shut up. And I've noticed this because sometimes I'll do junket interviews for Rotten Tomatoes. So when I was doing the Star Wars junket interviews, something you really have to be trained at how to do is ask a question, and when they're answering, do not talk, do not laugh.
Because you're going to affect the audio.
I smile so much. I'm like, I'm just doing whatever I can with my face to get them to keep talking,
I do laugh out loud, which is something I did a lot in the Crisis Aftermath show. And I'm okay with that. I think I totally agree, and it just depends on who your boss is. But for me, it's more, like I said, it's coming from a fan, personable, I'm laughing out loud with you moment that most of the time they don't mind. Yeah, some of the time they do.
I try to read it where it's if I'm making this the Mark Ellis show, if I'm talking to somebody famous, but we're having a good, I'm that's good. I just want to make good content.
Yeah.
Whether it's me shutting up and letting the famous person do their thing, or it's hey, we have a fun rapport. I just want to make the best content.
You know who does the best, who's one of the best she does a ton of junkets. Is Sabina Graves. Sabina Graves is my friend, and she has come over and this is another thing about friends pull up friends. So if one of us books something, it's not even competition. It's hey, can you come over? Before my Crisis episodes, I had my friend Tamara Brooks, who's a DC expert. And I bought her sushi, and we sat and we watched some episodes, and we just talked.
Yeah.
You want people on your, that's so important in this community, I feel is to have and it's not oh, you got it and I didn't get it. It's how, you got this is your time to shine. How can we make you look the best? And Sabina comes up with because I'm more comedy like you, and I think that's great. We there's a reason why a lot of comedians are asked to host. We're good at improv. We come up with funny questions. Sabina's are so thought-provoking. I remember she actually gave me, because I hosted the Aladdin world premiere, and so a lot of those questions I wrote, a lot of the questions Disney wrote, but one of the ones Sabina actually sent me to ask was about Alan Menken, because he actually performed at the press conference a medley. There we go. Of also, I'm very aware that I've taken over this conversation. I feel I've done the
Q&A,
most.
Dani.
I've done the most talking. It's just because I just had this thing air tonight, so I have a lot to share.
You just came off set where you didn't get a chance to talk a lot. So now it's kind of.
No, I just want to tell people the behind the scenes.
Give us your thoughts on the evil shark from The Flash.
At the press conference, Alan did a medley of all the songs that he's done for Disney, and a lot of times we forget, like, you know, all of the history. And her question was, you've been a part of the fabric of Aladdin since the beginning. What was it like moving from animation to Broadway? Because remember, there was Aladdin the musical to now live action. But even just like the fabric of Aladdin, I'm like, I would not have thought of that. The way that I talk is very much just like a comic, like just like to get funny answers. Like,
so,
I get a lot of.
What'd you do for this production, Mencken?
No, I mean, I talked with Will, and I'm like, so you.
Will.
I talked with. Shut up. We are friends. He's so. I've done. We're not like friends, but like that I've seen him a couple of times.
I was watching The Irishman, and I called Marty after the movie to give him my thoughts.
I really hate. I'm not going to talk anymore for this.
And,
you can talk.
And I'm watching The Irishman, and met Bobby and Joe, my friends, are in the movie. Al, he's such a cut up. No, I'm sorry. You're talking with Will Smith.
No, I'm done.
No, come on. It's Will Smith. You can't tease us with a Will Smith story.
I'm done.
No, come on. We want to hear about Will, your friend Will.
He was just really sweet and kind to me, and that's not even what I was going to say. I said the question I had for him was like, oh, you did a bunch of songs. Did you have do you have a your favorite baby or whatever? Because he performed, you know, Friend Like Me and Prince Ali and you know, Arabian Nights, and so I wanted to know like what was his secret favorite one. So those are like more of the questions I normally go for.
There are a lot of good songs in Aladdin. I didn't see the movie. Still didn't see the live action movie.
I think Will is the best. Will is great.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, also Mina and Naomi, but Will kind of just stole the show for me. What are you looking at?
Just some questions, but it's funny you bring up the Disney Princess panel you moderated, because one of our patrons, John Mariano, says, hey Mark, Dani totally rocked it covering the Disney Princess panel in New York.
Yay.
He has two incredible young daughters. I think they're like 6 to 10 range, and they come to the Schmoedowns when we go to New York. And they bring like a bunch of poster stuff, and they were at the Disney panel.
I remember. I think you tweeted at me.
Precocious kids.
Well, what was really funny was I was like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna be professional. And then Anika cried, and that made me cry. And I think honestly, even though we have to be professional, I think it's okay. I think people actually like it when you show emotion. So like when I was at hosting the Aladdin premiere, the Speechless song that Naomi did was just so important. I think she did it like the day that Me Too broke or something. It was like wild. And so when I was watching it, you could actually see like it looked like she was gonna cry when she was filming it, and it made me cry. It was very heartfelt. It was, you know, about a woman that's like, I'm not going to be silent. And so when I told her that, I just started crying, and I could see her like, I can't cry right now. I have a bunch of other press to do.
Just got makeup done.
She was about to, and then you saw her like, she's very professional because she like took a breath and then like didn't. But I think that's okay. Like, I think that might be another reason why we get asked to do this is because we're real and people, and I don't need to be perfect and polished. I'm not perfect and polished. And I spoke at a women's conference about this, about like really playing up who you are. And I think there's something to being personable and relatable. And I talk about depression, and I talk about like openly crying at things. And I think that's fine. You know, I think it just shows how much these different people and works and like the Disney princesses like mean to you.
I tweet about pizza, but you know, Dani, I'm much more focused on things like human trafficking.
No, you cry about Star Wars. Like, I think even in your reaction videos, you've cried.
I've gotten a little misty-eyed in reaction videos for Star Wars, which is so weird because I am so good. It's one of the very few things I will say I'm good at holding my emotions in check. Like when it's like a serious, like a sad situation, you ain't breaking me. But Star Wars, like I'm lucky enough to go to the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, and I know that as soon as the letters come up, a long time ago, like even just talking about it, it's like, oh, it's like my face is already manufacturing tears, and they're just putting them in storage. It's like squirrels gathering acorns for the winter. My face is absorbing all this, and it's ready to just projectile.
Why do you feel like you have to hold in your emotions?
Like if I'm moderating something, or I want to, you know,
Even if you are moderating something, don't you think that would mean a lot to the person who created it, that you gave them that moment?
But like I'm thinking like funerals and stuff like that. I like to be I don't know. I like to be a rock for other people. I guess is where it comes from. You know?
Hector Navarro, who's our dear friend and host at DC Daily, he cries, like just openly, doesn't care. He'll just cry about talking about Iron Man or something, and or any of the DC stuff that he does. And I think that's great.
There's a couple football coaches like that too that like cry. Like every press conference, Dick Vermeil cried at the end. It was great.
For me. It's. I understand what you're saying. You want to be professional, but sometimes I'm like...
I'm not saying it's unprofessional to cry.
No. I'm just saying I think it's a gift to that person. I think it's a gift if you're talking to a creator or filmmaker for them. There's so much like vitriol, like so many bad things on the internet to like let them see, to be vulnerable and let them see how their work affected you, I think is sweet.
Now I'm gonna cry like every junket. I made I made Anthony Daniels tear up.
Really?
The C-3PO, yeah, because I had like 30 seconds left, and I was done with the question I was supposed to do. Hopefully, I get that footage or they post it anyway. But so I was just like, I had this kind of thing in my head when I was talking, and I was like, I'm gonna end it with this. It's not a question; it's just a comment. And I looked right at him, and he's a very nice guy, but he was tired. It was like a long day of doing interviews. And I just looked at him. I was like, I just want to let you know that since Star Wars began, I consider you to be the greatest ambassador that this franchise has ever had. You saw it through thick and thin. You always gave your all to it, and for that, on behalf of all the fans, I just want to say thank you. And he was welling up, and then the interview's done, and as I'm leaving, like there's like 15 other people like in this room that are like their handlers and stuff, and they were all crying, and I made them all cry, and I was like, boom! I make other people cry. Ain't breaking me, but I'll break you. All right, let's see if some of these questions break me. You're thinking about what a nice guy I am. Are you tearing up right now?
No, I just...
Oh. I thought you were crying.
I have a billion emotions.
All right, so let's see.
Wait. Okay, sorry. I was going to pick one.
I'll pick one.
When you say... Okay, this is from Liz Slayer 93. When you say you two are better as friends, what does that actually mean? Please long explain.
What? Because we used to date. We used to be an item. We used to go steady. We used to, do that stuff. And then we broke up, and it's just much better for me.
That makes it sound like you broke up with me.
Oh, yeah, I dropped you like a bad habit.
Which was not what
I walked in and I said, I'm done with you. And you're like, no, Mark, please. And I was like, I'm moving on. But I'm keeping the dog. That woke the dog up. My lie woke the dog up.
When you're dating someone, at least this is how I feel. We broke up for different reasons, and I think we stay broken up for different reasons.
I called a mutual decision. It was close enough.
I initiated, I would say, and then we both agreed.
I didn't push back.
No.
I wasn't like, well, let's talk about this.
Right. No, yeah, I just was like,
thank you for initiating.
I can't do this anymore. I think when you're dating someone, at least for me, like there's certain I don't even know how to say it. One, we fought a lot. Like we fought more than, I don't want to say more than a couple should, not more than couples do, because I see a lot of people fight and I don't think that's necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
I think that fighting is normal, but I think when it crosses a lot, I think a lot of couples stay just through that, and I think that's not right. We also did a little bit of couples therapy.
We did.
So we did try to like.
I thought it was good.
We did try to.
Every time I walked out of one of those sessions, it's like, all right, we got this.
For me, the only way I can describe it is like, if you're my boyfriend, there's certain things I expect, there's certain like ways I like things done, like as a couple, and if we're just not, I don't want to force a guy to be like that or to do those things. So if you just don't like those things and you don't want to do them, and you're, now, I'll just say this, now that you're not my boyfriend, there are several things you do that I don't have to worry about. And the way that you are, and the way that you're, like, even your apartment, which is, like, you can't see, I think I joked about this, but it's, like, this is from the 80s. It's, like, a gold frame that's broken in one part. Yeah, it's, like...
It's a legendary moment.
You have another one that's, like,
Super Bowl
broken.
history.
I'm also not a fan of having Redskin stuff around my thing. It's just stuff like that where...
Family heirloom, and I'm sorry the name is racist. I wish they'd change it, but they haven't yet.
And like...
Just waiting for the owner to die.
And like I don't know, there's a lot of stuff like that where it's like it just adds up over time. It's like a ton of stuff. And that makes it sound like I'm crazy. Like,
feels like you're breaking up me all over again.
But same with me. There's so many things I do that Mark doesn't like.
Yep.
And he can just be like, you're not my girlfriend, so I don't even have to worry about it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not so much that it was like you as a person. Yeah, there's some things that you do that I'm like, oh, dude, that person. But it's more just like the fact that you are a human, and I don't want to date a human.
That sounds really weird and gross.
I don't want to date any other species, but I'm just like, God, it's so much. It is so much work, guys. It is so much work being in a relationship.
It's a lot of work and
so much. And we do have a lot in common. Like we laugh and like we love the dog. I think the dog's a big reason why we get along so well. We kind of share parenting duties. And
I think if you said that we're allowed to say anything, initially we just had really different social media presences. I don't know if that's the same, but I'm very much about like I tweet about immigration, like that's a thing that affected my family. Like I tweet about a lot of, especially like I don't tweet about specific political party like people anymore, candidates, but I definitely talk about issues that affect people of color, and I think I did that a lot. And I think at times, Mark, you were just like, I just don't want to even get into this conversation at all. Because for you, it was like, this isn't the place to do it, and I don't want to deal with people tweeting at me. And so that was a huge issue for me to be so vocally. If you follow me, I'm like so vocally feisty and defiant, and I just like really believe in the things I believe in. And Mark chooses to do that in other ways, but it was really difficult for me to date someone that wasn't, to me it felt like you didn't care about it as much. And we definitely have evolved since then and have a lot of conversations.
Yeah, I think that's social media too, where like you looked at it like back in, if it was like 2013, 2014, or my relationship with social media was just like, this is just a place to, for jokes. And then I think especially with the last election and just and how much evil you see in the world, it's like you do feel the need to speak up, and then you kind of find a balance with it. 'Cause I used to speak up a lot more about specific stuff than I do now, and now I think I found a nice balance with it. And it's also like at a certain point people know how you feel about stuff, and I don't want to be the dead horse. True, that's how I am. But
sometimes I can't not do it.
I also feel like a lot of people are kind of saving up for when the 2020 election really starts, ramping up, and it's like, no, we need to talk about these issues. We need to get people to vote. So I think it's cyclical like that.
Yeah.
But. Yeah.
So we just had a lot of differences, like, where when you have someone that is your partner or your life partner, you kind of want to be on the same page. And so we work better as friends because we can just be friends and not have to like you're super in. I was a little bit into sport. I used to be a lot more into sports when I was going to UT because that's like a huge sports college.
You will play football like your daddy did.
And I like that about you. I like that you're super into it.
Pretty into sports, yeah.
I bet it would be better if you had a girlfriend that would also wanted to sit here with you all day, all Saturday and Sunday, and watch it.
You don't get up
instead
to
of having me, who's like, come on, I want to go to the park. I want to go do this and that.
Stop nagging me, woman.
Which I think some people will be like, that's just a relationship. You want to make compromise. Well, then we're not the right people for each other because we don't want to for each other. We make a lot of compromises for each other as friends. Like we're just super there for each other.
A lot.
Mostly him.
Oh, don't worry, your day's coming. Molly and I are ready to move into your guest house. As soon as you buy that mansion.
I am very open to
the idea of me being your housemate.
In a guest house, yeah.
Okay, I can live in separate quarters.
I think it would weird. I think it would weird my boyfriend/husband out if you lived in our house. But I will just tell him.
I think it's a sitcom waiting to happen. I think with how rich and famous you're going to be, you could hire a studio audience to be there 24/7. We'd get laughs. We'd feel good.
I think
fun.
it would
be cooking your boyfriend eggs when he wakes up.
I don't know. It depends on if you're friends with him. If you're friends with him, like most of my, like they're all nice. Most of them, not all of them, but some of them are nice guys, and so they end up being friends. But I think I would tell him, anyone that comes into my relationship has to be okay with the fact that Mark is my best friend.
You don't have to tell him that. Don't open with it.
I don't open with it.
Don't bring my headshot on the first date. Like, okay, this is Mark.
I don't do that, but I definitely have to tell them eventually.
I do wonder if it's like if you're dating somebody or like you're seeing somebody, you start following each other on social media, and then like we like a lot of each other's tweets and like stuff like that. Then you see the dog in your social media, and then you see that dog looks really familiar. Why is this guy his special dog stepfather? You see them put two and two together. Then, I
normally tell people it's impossible to not stay friends with you.
I'm pretty friendly.
Yeah, so. I think even your other exes, you're still friendly with. Well,
there's not a lot of them, but the ones that there are, yeah. So if you're looking to date Dani, you gotta deal with this. Hi, idiot. But I feel like I'd be good for them, actually. Like if you're a future boyfriend who doesn't listen to me, I feel like I could be like his like relationship coach for you. I can kind of like give him the game plan.
You know me the best out of, you know what I want.
Yeah, like here's the strategy. You know, zig here, zag there, that kind of thing. Take her to creation.
I just think, yeah. But the thing about our friendship and the trajectory of everything that's happening in my career is I feel like I wouldn't be there without your support. Like you've been there for the good times and the bad times, the really bad times. Most people peace out. They just want the good times. They want how I look on Instagram and just like happy and sexy, and that's all they want. And then when it gets real, they peace out. But you've gotten to see the really great high moments and low moments, and you've stuck around. And
that's
so
me.
I feel
old bad time Mark. That's the guy.
No, I'm just saying that you pick me up.
If you're having troubles, that's my middle name.
Every time that I've fallen down, Mark will pick me up, and so it would be disrespectful / I wouldn't want to cut you out of my life.
I'm so glad this is on camera.
When stuff is going good.
Do I have to clean my own guest house?
I don't know.
Or like will your maid come over and clean the guest house, or is that all different? I have to hire somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take it out of the dog's allowance. That was a good long explanation for that. All right, let's do. This is a fun one. Sue and Friends, IN says, is Luke Skywalker a great Jedi or the greatest Jedi?
Ooh.
Can't call him the greatest Jedi. I don't think he's the most powerful. I mean, he certainly went out like a badass, and Luke's like my favorite besides R2-D2, but I don't know if I can call him the greatest Jedi. I think there's a lot of Jedis we don't know about, you know, with like the old... Are you just remembering why you broke up with me? It's... if you go back to like the old Republic, there's probably a lot of Jedi walking around there. Yoda? Your baby friend?
Yoda.
Are you done with the Baby Yoda obsession, or is it
No, it's just like I just need space. I just need I love it, and I love all please like keep sending me Baby Yoda stuff, but I think like we almost beat it to death where now we need to like back off a little bit. But like I definitely was at fault. I couldn't stop tweeting about him.
No, you couldn't.
It
was funny.
It was just like all these tweets were coming to my mind of like Baby Yoda. I think I tweeted Baby Yoda isn't vaccinated.
That was great.
And like just tweeting all this stuff about like I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And now I think we need like a slight break. I almost wish that there was like a couple months break in between, or that he had stayed when they were trying to keep him on this one planet. Wish that he had stayed there, because we kind of need a little bit of a break so that we miss him and then can come back.
When he's turning, I love all the when he's playing with the button and people put music in there. It's good stuff. Charlie Palmer 98 says, what are some of the movies, shows, people, etc. that have shaped your sense of humor? What comes to mind when you think of Dani's sense of humor? What comes to mind as the person that helped shape it?
Do you remember when I told you in elementary school I watched a Comedy Central special, or not Comedy Central, but I watched a special, and I had note cards and I wrote all the jokes down?
And it was Chris Rock?
It was Chris Rock. Yeah, which doesn't fit me at all. And my mom was
there's some
like,
bad words.
I don't think I said those ones. I only said the ones that I could say, or I like just would change it.
Do you remember if it was Bring the Pain, the first one, or if it was Bigger and Blacker?
That one.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Because Bring the Pain was a huge. I mean, Chris Rock's my favorite comic of all time, but like Bring the Pain was the first, and when that hit, it was epic. But
it's so funny because that didn't shape my humor. Like nothing about my humor is the same as his at all. But I think it was just funny that that's where I started. That like back in elementary school, my mom, who's super Catholic, found that and was like, "You shouldn't be like writing this down. What is this?" The person who I loved growing up was Ellen. A lot of people forget that if you look at some of her original specials,
and her show was
so
great too.
Good.
The sitcom was really funny.
God, like just really relatable and clean, which is very hard to do. It's super hard to be clean. I think a lot of people say that you're pretty clean.
Yeah, I'm fairly clean. I like to keep it as clean as possible, but a well-placed F-bomb is a lot of fun to do on stage. There's been a ton of comics that are like, that I love, but I think as far as like actually shaping one's individual sense of humor, David Letterman is way up there. Like watching just the way he conducts interviews, the way that he is so self-deprecating, the top 10 lists, like that guy's way up there. I don't know if I say him first enough when people ask me about that kind of thing.
I also watched...
And Friends, the show Friends.
I watched SNL religiously. Even back when I was babysitting, every time the couple would come home on like a Saturday, when I was in high school, I would be watching SNL. And the way that I write Conan is, when I first moved to LA, I wanted to write on Conan. When I write my jokes, I either write it in his cadence, or used to, not anymore, but I would write it in his cadence or Seth Meyers' cadence from Weekend Update. And that's like, you kind of get used to the way that a joke structure is by like the way that they would deliver their joke.
Right.
And so when you see my tweets, like especially like older ones, like it was kind of in their, the way that my brain would formulate a punchline was in the cadence of the way that they would talk. Okay.
Yeah. The more I think about it, I don't think Matthew Perry gets enough credit either for how influential he was of a generation of people who were the funny one in their group, because everybody on Friends got laughed, but he was the funny one. He was the one that was super funny, going for the joke, and like that shaped a lot of people's sense of humor. So watch Fools Rush In. It's one of my favorite movies. I remember when we first met, one of our earliest conversations was about Fools Rush In.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it, yeah.
Okay, good.
She flies in the hot dog from Coney Island.
Yeah, Gray's Papaya. But he's so good. He's just so funny. Like he just is so funny and great and charming. But yeah, if you're looking to like learn how to write late night packets, what a lot of people do is write it, like if you're watching Kimmel, because a lot of my friends write on late night. If you're watching Kimmel, because you have to write it in their voice. That's a secret behind the scenes thing. If you have a joke, like say you send in 50 jokes to them when you're submitting your packet, you also send in sketches and a bunch of other things and desk pieces. But when you're writing your like 50 monologue jokes, if even like one of them isn't in their voice, they normally toss it, because you have to stay in their voice. Like it has to be a joke that they would say. So he's not going to have the perspective of Dani, unfortunately, a Latina. Like he's not going to talk like that. But what you do to learn how to write in their voice is watch an episode and just write down all the jokes, like the way that they say it, what they emphasize. And then when you're thinking of jokes, like your brain starts to write it like that.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Totally. I should just do an advice
make it this time.
As a writer. Oh, I didn't even say I'm writing on a Netflix show.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it, but I've known about it for a little bit.
No, I should do an advice. My biggest thing, I can't do it right now.
Did you officially announce that on Twitter yet?
I said I was writing on a Netflix show. Okay. I didn't say which one.
Yeah.
It's new. It's an awesome drama that's going to be...
Is it Mindhunter?
Big. It's not Mindhunter.
So tell me about your mom. You ever watch Mindhunter?
I've watched a little bit.
I was under the weather like a couple months ago, and so I just stayed home and binged the whole thing. And man, did that mess my brain up. Because you can only watch so much Mindhunter before you just walk. Everybody you see, you think that they could be a serial killer. So, great show, but pace yourself.
That's what it's like being a woman every day.
You know the guy who's in Mindhunter, also, he voices one of the characters in Frozen. And he's like, in Mindhunter, he's just like this kind of like weird, nebbishy, like really wants to get into the mind of a serial killer. He's a song and dance man.
Did you see that Olaf is 5'4"? You saw my tweet of it?
So Olaf the Snowman is 5'4", according to
Wikipedia.
That was your source?
That means Elsa and Anna are like 10 feet tall.
That's the culture up there. Doesn't it take place in like Iceland? Aren't they like Vikings? It's a bigger cut of human up there.
She would like touch the ceiling.
Yeah, the Greenland. You met a Greenlander? They're all like 9 feet tall.
Mm.
All right. Billy Pollyann says, "Hi, Mark and Danny. Big fans of both of you. Thank you. My question is for the both of you. How would you describe your first experience doing stand-up? What was your first time doing stand-up?
Okay,
your first experience?
My first experience was at an open mic. That's normally where a lot of people have their first experience. It was at it's downtown. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't great. It was, so before that, I had worked at the Ice House Comedy Club in Pasadena, which is Joe Rogan's home club.
That's where we met.
It is where we met.
Yeah.
I met Brad Williams, who became my mentor there.
I was just texting with him today.
Yeah. Him and a couple of other people. But anyways, what was I going to say?
Well, the Ice House, it's tough going from the Ice House. If you're working there and you see that main room packed weekend after weekend, and you see like how big the laughs are in that room, and then you go do stand up somewhere else and you haven't done it before, it's in some coffee shop downtown, it's like, oh god, this is totally different.
It was at a bar downtown, and I still to this day do not know why normal people go to an open mic. I know why us comics go to an open mic, but why would you want to sit there and watch beginners doing stand-up? Like, we need an audience, right, to test out our jokes on, but like, why would you want to sit there? It's so uncomfortable.
I could not fathom the idea of doing that. Well, especially not now. Like, I don't even want to go to an open mic as a comic anymore.
Oh yeah, and you don't have to. So that was my first experience. It was like doing a couple of open mics, wasn't great, and then I did I just worked on my set, and like, I luckily have a writing background, so I felt I got to cheat a little bit by having, like, I wasn't just a comic, like, I knew at least how to write funny jokes, so I was like, how can I make these funny on stage?
Yeah, you knew that there was humor there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew the topics were funny, the punchlines, but like, how can I make it work? So my first show was at the Comedy Store. It was with Suna Bilstead and Jody.
Sorry.
Anyways, my first show was at the Comedy Store, and it was great. And it was like, yeah, it was really well. I remember Suna tweeted about it and was like, y'all need to check out Dani or whatever, because I think a lot of people just knew me as a writer or someone on Twitter, like hadn't seen me perform. But anyways, long story short, because that went well, I continued. I think if I had totally bombed that show, I might have been like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Or not do it, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I remember, I've talked about my first time doing stand-up a bunch, but I remember this other open mic that I did before I moved out
Lexington. The Lexington was my open mic.
The bar?
I think they still do it there, maybe.
Some say when the moon is full, you can still hear Dani Fernandez on stage at the Lexington. So I did an open mic at the Charlotte Funny Bone Comedy Zone. It was their old location, not their new location, which is great. I did, and the old location was fine too. But you got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes on stage. I drove 90 minutes to do 2 minutes on stage. Packed house. Again, people were there, and I think that they had like the open mic was like the beginning of their show. Mm-hmm. So it was like Wednesday night. So like it was like 30 minutes of open mic, and then they had like a couple professionals go up. And I just remember being on stage for 2 minutes and crickets.
Oof.
Like literal crickets. And I look back on that and just thinking like, God, it's like that scene in Superman 2 where Clark Kent like is Superman, but he's getting the crap beat out of him, and he can't turn into Superman. And so he's in this bar getting the shit kicked out of him, and he can't, and he's like, you're Superman, you do it. And so I look back, I'm like, what? Crickets. I
don't know. When you and I were dating, sometimes Mark would be on the road, so I would watch videos of him because I missed you. And
really?
Yeah, and there's one of you either at the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory. You could like it's a long time ago because his hair is all curly. And you are so good at crowd work. It's like treat yourself and watch it. You're just really, you're like so, you know, because you worked at the Comedy Store. Like he was there every day. And so, have you seen that? It's on their website or somebody's website. It's either that or the Laugh Factory's website. But you're young. Not that you're not now. You look really
It's
young.
on a website? How do you enter into...
I mean, it's on YouTube. It's on either the...
Whose tube?
Just do Mark Ellis stand-up or something. I don't know. One of those. But it's you doing your jokes and then you doing like crowd work. I think you're doing crowd work and like laugh and just really, which is super hard because it's improv, just like with people in the crowd of...
It's a piece of cake. Don't listen to her.
It's hard.
Piece of cake. Let's see. Going back to John Mariano, his question was, what was it like for both of you to watch Dog Stepfather? Well, you just kind of answered what it's like to watch me do stand-up, that it's just this fascinating journey into a genius. But it was tough. It was tough watching it. The first cut was tough because I didn't know how it turned out because I remember the night and how tough it was. But I was actually, it sucks watching yourself do stand-up. Like, it's never fun. But now I can, like, when I have to, like, post, you know, like, clips of Dog Stepfather, stuff like that on social media, I'm like, I had a good show that night.
I hate watching myself on TV. Like, not all the time. Like, it's only if I don't know how it came out, like you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I know I did really well.
Well, sometimes it's like if you did really well, and then you go back and watch it.
And it's like not as good. Hey, but the reason why is because, which yours is different, but sometimes they won't mic. Like, so I did a bunch of stuff for Sci-Fi Wire, a bunch of panels.
Yeah, I know. They don't mic the crowd.
They don't mic the crowd. And so you're laughing because it's funny.
Because everybody else in the room is laughing.
You can kind of hear the crowd, like from your mic. So it's your mic, so you can only hear the crowd from your mic. So you don't really hear them. And so it doesn't sound like you crushed as big as you crushed. However, that's why I love, at our debate, it was like our San Diego Comic-Con one, someone filmed it from in the crowd.
Yeah.
So you could hear how loud the crowd was.
That's what
a treat.
I've made the demand when we get our new Schmodown studio, we have to mic the crowd.
Oh, so just not
because
as
I say funny stuff during the matches, and you cannot hear people laughing.
So it looks like you just bombed.
It looks like I'm just like eating crap for an hour every Tuesday and Friday. Not the case. Sometimes it's the case, but not always the case. All right, let's close up shop here with Paul Acton's question. He's been loving the special and the Patreon stuff so far. Thank you very much, Paul. What are your thoughts on tipping for carry-out orders at restaurants? Wait staff, delivery person, he says obviously, but what about picking up your order yourself? He's already gotten the Wangers' opinion on their show. Shout out to the Wangers. But he just likes to talk tipping etiquette from time to time. So
you and I are different on this.
Well, let's start. Let's get to the carry-out one, but let's start with tipping at a restaurant, good service. What's the percentage?
I never don't tip 20 or if it's great, I guess 25%, but I never go lower than 20.
Okay. Yeah, I don't go lower than 20. I like to tip. I like tipping a lot. It's
like
fun.
Even if you didn't talk to me, I'm still like, okay, thanks. 20%.
Probably having a bad day. So, but now you get to like carry out.
I always tip. I tip my Uber. I tip my Postmates. I tip my carry out. I tip at Starbucks. No. I never don't tip. No, you don't agree. Like I'm not saying that you don't tip. I'm saying, but you.
That sounded like.
You don't agree with tipping for like at Creation. If you're just.
That is a bald-faced lie. That is I tip $1 every time, and I because I've seen other people at places and like you buy something, right? And then you do like the iPad sign out and it says tip and they always just hit no tip. I always put in at least $1.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
baseless accusation.
You kind of laughed at me, but I said anytime there's the ability to tip, like on a receipt, I always.
I usually do this. Sometimes, like I went to that pizza place tonight.
Yeah.
And they just ring it up and they give me the receipt and you sign it and there's a place for a tip, so I put $2 on there. No idea if they're actually going to take the $2. You know, because like they have to manually put it in. And I think people are so used to not getting tips in that form that just I
bet they do.
falls by the wayside.
But I always tip. It makes me feel so weird not to tip.
You know who I started tipping so I feel like I'm big time? Is when I park my car at a comedy club.
That's nice.
And like because I used to work the lot of the comedy store, so I give them $5.
Someone that I want to tip more, I just need to make sure I have cash on me, is at party, because we go to a lot of like premieres and events, and so the alcohol.
Oh, the times we've had.
The alcohol. Well, I mean, I could literally talk for an hour on here about how poor I was, so I never have a problem talking about not being poor anymore because.
Oh, you saw your friend Will and me and Marty were.
When I first moved to Hollywood, I lived in a 1-bedroom with 2 other girls and their dog. A 1-bedroom. We all had to share 1 bedroom.
Was there some sort of cat situation?
Yeah, I found my roommate before that on Craigslist. We only lasted for 2 weeks. I don't even count her.
You had a Craigslist roommate?
I had a Craigslist roommate. She was crazy. She not only had a bunch of cats, but she let in stray cats. They pissed all over my clothes. I didn't even have enough money to send. I had gone through a divorce and my furniture was like in Colorado. I was too poor to even get my furniture, so I slept on a blow-up mattress. I didn't have sheets. I had towels I put over myself. So I don't care about bragging about having some money. I've worked my butt off. But what I was going to say is at these premieres and events, they give you alcohol for free, right? They have bartenders, everything's for free.
It's the best.
And so I think that I should bring cash because I feel weird not tipping that. I just feel weird not tipping, probably because I was so poor.
I tip people who are moving stuff in.
You do.
Or like people who like come to like
the cable person.
You got
to set up
cable. Tip the cable people.
Yeah.
And here's a little life hack. If you're like a wedding or something, or like if you're like at a premiere party or something like that, and it's open bar, get up there, get a drink, and make sure they see it. Make sure they see it. I'll put a 20 in there.
Yeah.
With the intent of now for the rest of the night, I am best friends with them. They are best friends with me, and they're going to hook you up. Now, if you like mixed drinks, they'll probably make it stronger. I just like a nice beer. They'll find you the coldest beer. They'll probably even cut line, you know? You're setting yourself up for future success.
I always want them to see what I tip, and sometimes they don't.
I just hold my hand there. I'm literally waiting for them to turn around.
I'm not doing it because I want stronger drink. I just want them to know, like, I'm not a dick. I tipped you, I promise. Like,
I hate, there's nothing worse than having a tip jar and with like all like the ones in it, and you're putting like a 20 in there, and they turn around and you drop. Like, there's nothing worse than an unseen $20 bill. Because like, you need to know, if I'm tipping you $20, you got to know it's from me.
I guess.
That's the whole point. It's in the Bible. That's what Jesus said. He said, you know, something about the
remember the catering job I did? I like served Tyra Banks.
Oh, I remember that. You were
Tyra.
either gonna do catering or you were gonna work at a hookah bar. Dear, can you imagine dating somebody, coming home from a hookah bar, smelling like a cotton candy ashtray night after night?
I was hustling. Working a bunch of jobs. But anyways, that's why I tip. Is I think I worked in the service industry, and so yeah.
All right. Well, that was a good way to close the vid out. Thanks for watching. So on the CW.
Oh yeah.
And you're writing on Netflix.
Yeah, just follow me at Ms. Dani. It's MsDaniFernandez.
And you know me. You'll see me soon. New York coming up. Atlanta coming up. Some other stand-up dates coming soon. Possibly Denver. Looking into it. More info soon. And happy holidays, everybody.
I feel like I talked a lot in this episode.
I can edit it.